They say first impressions last forever, but what if you could create one that not only lasts, but also instantly connects? Not with charm, not with fake confidence, but with something real. Think about the people who walk into a room and somehow others are naturally drawn to them. It's not always about looks or status, it's about energy, it's about presence. It's about the subtle things they do, the way they listen, the way they speak, the way they make you feel like you're the only one in the room. You don't need to be loud or funny to connect with people. You don't need to know everything or talk nonstop. In fact, the people who connect the fastest are often the ones who say the least but listen the most. They carry a certain quiet confidence, a natural warmth. And once you understand how it works, you'll realize this: connection isn't luck. It's a skill, and it's one you can start building today. In this video, you're going to discover the 9 simple but powerful ways to connect with anyone, anytime, anywhere. Let's unlock that magic, step by step. Point 1. Smile genuinely, not just politely. There's something magical about a real smile. Not the quick, tight-lipped, polite smile we give to strangers in passing, but the kind that comes from a genuine place. A smile that lights up your eyes, softens your face, and says without words, "I see you." In a world filled with noise, stress, and constant digital distraction, a real smile is a quiet but powerful signal that breaks through barriers. It's the easiest and most human way to make someone feel safe, seen, and welcomed. And when it comes to connecting with people instantly, this is your secret weapon. Think about the last time someone smiled at you with real warmth. Maybe it was a stranger at a coffee shop who caught your eye and offered a friendly grin, or a coworker who greeted you in the morning like they truly meant it. That tiny moment probably lifted your mood, even if just a little. Why? Because a real smile does more than show teeth. It shows intention. It shows you're present. It shows you're open. That's the kind of energy people respond to almost immediately. But here's the thing. Most people can tell the difference between a fake smile and a real one. A fake smile is forced, tight, and doesn't reach the eyes. It's mechanical. It feels like a mask, not a gesture. On the other hand, a genuine smile starts in the heart. It's effortless. It's soft. It makes your entire face light up. And that's the kind of expression that tells someone, "You matter. I'm glad you're here." That one message alone is enough to spark an instant connection. When you walk into a room or approach someone for the first time, your smile is often the very first impression you give. Before you speak, before you shake hands, before any words are exchanged. In that split second, people are already reading your face and deciding if you're approachable. A real smile lowers their guard. It invites them in. It tells their brain, this person is safe. That's not just emotional, it's biological. Studies in neuroscience show that a real smile activates the mirror neurons in another person's brain, triggering a sense of comfort and even mild happiness in them just by seeing you. You don't have to be the most talkative person in the room to make a lasting impact. Sometimes all it takes is walking up to someone, meeting their eyes, and offering a real smile. You don't even need to say anything right away. That one look can open the door to connection without you ever saying a word. It's that powerful. So how do you cultivate this kind of smile? You slow down. You take a breath before you walk into a room. You remember that everyone you meet is carrying something invisible, a worry, a doubt, a rough day, and your smile might just be the most human thing they'll experience all day. Smile like you mean it, not because you have to. Let it come from your desire to make someone's day just a little bit better. That kind of intention will show on your face. You don't have to fake it, you just have to feel it. And here's the beautiful part. The more often you smile genuinely, the more naturally it becomes a part of you. It won't feel forced, it won't feel like a technique, it will just become your nature. And when that happens, people will notice. They'll be drawn to you, not because you said the perfect thing, not because you were the loudest or most confident, but because they felt something different in your presence, something warm, something real. That's what real connection begins with. Not your words, not your background, not your achievements, but with one simple human gesture, a genuine smile. Point 2. Ask open-ended questions.
One of the fastest ways to create instant connection with someone is surprisingly simple. Ask open-ended questions. Not just any questions, but ones that invite stories, feelings, and thought, not just yes or no answers. Why? Because when you ask someone a question that requires more than a single word to respond, you're not just collecting information, you're showing interest. You're giving them space to be heard. And in today's world, that's rare and deeply appreciated. Most people go through their days answering the same dry, surface-level questions. How are you? What do you do? Everything good? These are fine for politeness, but they don't lead to connection. They don't open the door to understanding who a person really is. But shift your approach slightly and ask, what's been the highlight of your week so far? Or what's something you're really looking forward to? Suddenly, you've stepped into their world. You're asking for a glimpse into their emotions, their experiences, their life. Here's the real secret. People love to talk about themselves, especially when they feel someone is genuinely interested. When you ask the right kind of questions, you activate that feeling in them, the sense that you care enough to know more, that you're not just making conversation, you're making connection. And that's powerful. But this only works if you're truly present. Asking a great question means nothing if your eyes are wandering, your phone is in your hand, or your mind is already jumping to what you'll say next. You have to actually listen. Let the silence linger after you ask. Don't rush to fill the gap. Give them time to reflect, to open up, to choose their words. Sometimes those moments of pause are where the real magic happens. When someone feels they don't have to compete with noise to be heard, they feel seen, and that alone builds trust. One question can lead to a story. One story can lead to laughter. One laugh can lead to shared connection. It's a chain reaction, and it starts with the quality of your curiosity. Ask what someone loves, not just what they do. Ask what challenges them, not just where they live. Ask what lights them up, not just what their schedule looks like. These kinds of questions go deeper, faster, and they invite people to open their hearts just a little more than usual. But there's a balance. Don't make it feel like an interview. A natural tone matters. Keep your voice relaxed, your posture open, and your interest real. Don't jump from one deep question to the next like you're checking boxes. Let the conversation breathe. Let their answers lead to follow-up questions. That's where authenticity comes in. That's when they feel you're not asking because you read it in a book, but because you actually care. And here's a thought for you. Are you truly listening or just waiting to talk? This one question can change the way you approach every conversation. It pushes you to slow down, to actually value what someone is sharing instead of thinking about your next reply. That shift from performing to connecting is what turns casual talk into real communication. When someone feels heard, they automatically feel closer to you. They may not even realize why, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And when that happens, they won't just enjoy the conversation. They'll want more of it. They'll feel connected. And that's the goal. So next time you're talking to someone, whether it's a friend, a stranger, a colleague, try asking one open-ended question that makes them pause and think. That pause is your bridge. That pause is where connection begins. 3. Use their name early in the conversation. There's something powerful, almost magical about hearing your own name. It's the one word that has been connected to your identity since childhood. From the time we were kids, our name was the first thing we learned to respond to. It represents our sense of self, our presence in a room, and our connection to others. So when someone says our name with sincerity, especially early in a conversation, it lights up our brain. We feel acknowledged. We feel remembered.
And most importantly, we feel respected. That's why using someone's name is one of the simplest but most effective tools to create instant connection. In the middle of a noisy world where people often feel invisible, overlooked, or just part of the crowd, using a person's name is a subtle yet profound way to say, "You matter." It creates a personal moment within the larger conversation. It's no longer just two strangers talking. It becomes a shared exchange between two human beings.
Imagine this. You're checking in at a hotel after a long flight. You're tired, irritated, and just want to get to your room. Then the receptionist looks up, smiles warmly, and says, "Welcome, Jason. We're so glad to have you here." Suddenly, your mood shifts. That one word, your name, made you feel like more than just a reservation number. You were seen. You were valued. That's the effect your words can have on others, too. Using someone's name early in a conversation doesn't just make the interaction more pleasant, it also helps you remember their name later. When you say it out loud, your brain registers it more deeply. It creates a memory hook. So instead of forgetting it 5 minutes later and awkwardly asking again, you actually retain it. And when you meet them again later and say, "Hey, Rachel, good to see you again," that tiny moment of recognition creates a sense of continuity. It makes people feel like they're important enough to be remembered. However, the way you use their name matters too. It should never feel forced or overused. Saying someone's name too often can feel awkward or manipulative. The key is to be natural. Drop it once early in the conversation, maybe again midway, and again if it feels appropriate toward the end. Like seasoning in food. Just the right amount makes everything better. Too much ruins the flavor. Also, be mindful of how you pronounce it. If someone has a unique name or a pronunciation you're unfamiliar with, ask politely, "Can you tell me how to say your name correctly?" That small gesture shows respect and attentiveness. And if you get it wrong, don't be afraid to correct yourself quickly and move on. People appreciate the effort. It shows that you care enough to get it right. Using a name is also a grounding tool. In moments of conflict, tension, or uncertainty, bringing a person's name into the conversation can add warmth and calmness. Saying, "I hear you, Mark," or "That makes sense, Alicia," can shift the tone dramatically. It humanizes the moment. It reminds both of you that there's a person on the other side of the conversation, not just a problem or a point of disagreement. It's also a powerful way to include someone who feels left out. In group settings, using someone's name can pull them into the conversation without pressure. What do you think about that, Maya? Is more inviting than anyone have thoughts? It gives the person a sense of belonging and signals that their voice matters. In a world where people often feel like just another face in the crowd, a name brings identity back into the room. It creates connection, familiarity, and a subtle form of respect that's often overlooked. Whether you're meeting someone for the first time or reconnecting after a long time, don't underestimate the power of saying their name with intention. It's not just a social trick, it's a deeply human act of recognition. So the next time you meet someone new, don't just shake their hand and move on. Say their name. Say it warmly. Say it like it matters, because to them, it really does. 4. Mirror their body language subtly. Human connection isn't just built on words, it's built on energy. Long before we ever speak, our bodies are already communicating. The way we stand, how we move our hands, where our eyes land, all of these cues send powerful messages. And if you know how to read those messages and reflect them back naturally, you can create an invisible thread of trust and comfort without saying a word. That's the power of subtle mirroring. Mirroring is one of the most natural things we do when we feel connected to someone. It's something we do unconsciously when we're in sync, like two friends leaning in at the same angle while laughing, or a couple who finds themselves crossing their legs in the same direction without realizing it.
This kind of nonverbal synchronization creates a feeling of familiarity and understanding. It tells the other person, "I'm with you." And when done intentionally but subtly, it becomes a gentle tool to build rapport quickly. But here's what's important. It must be subtle. The moment it feels forced or exaggerated, the other person's brain picks it up and something feels off. That's because humans are wired to detect inauthenticity. So this isn't about copying someone's every move like a mimic. It's about finding their rhythm and moving with it just enough to make them feel safe and seen. Start by observing. Pay attention to their posture. Are they sitting upright or leaning back? Are their arms open or crossed? Is their energy calm or animated? Once you have a sense of how they're expressing themselves physically, you can begin to reflect small pieces of it. If they lean in slightly while speaking, you do the same a few seconds later. If they gesture gently with their hands, you can mirror that softness when it's your turn to speak. These small signals add up. They create a silent conversation underneath the verbal one. It's also about matching their energy level. If someone is quiet and reflective, don't overwhelm them with big gestures and loud expressions. That kind of mismatch can create discomfort and make them pull away. On the other hand, if someone is energetic and expressive, meeting them with a similar level of enthusiasm makes them feel understood. It's like dancing to the same beat. When your energies align, the connection flows naturally. Another aspect of body language mirroring is eye contact. Matching their level of eye contact can help build comfort. If someone is more reserved and avoids direct eye contact, intense staring may feel intrusive. But if someone is comfortable locking eyes, mirroring that openness can deepen the trust. Again, it's all about sensitivity, reading the other person's comfort zone and staying in tune with it. Even your tone of voice and pace of speech can be mirrored. If someone speaks slowly and thoughtfully, racing ahead with fast talking can create a disconnect. Slowing down to match their rhythm shows that you're listening, that you're meeting them where they are. These aren't dramatic changes. They're small calibrations that say, "I get you." When you mirror someone subtly, something interesting happens. They start to feel more relaxed around you. They may not know why, but their nervous system picks up the cues. They feel like they're with someone who gets them, someone who's on the same wavelength, and that feeling builds trust. This technique isn't about manipulation or control. It's about empathy. It's about tuning in, being fully present, and allowing your own behavior to reflect the space you're sharing. You're not trying to lead the dance, you're trying to match it. And when people feel that harmony, they naturally open up. They feel safe. They feel understood. That's when real connection begins. The beauty of mirroring is that it doesn't require you to be charismatic, witty, or bold. It doesn't depend on the perfect words. All it requires is awareness, a calm mind, a willingness to meet someone in their own space and to honor that space with your presence. So next time you meet someone, whether it's a colleague, a new friend, or a stranger on a plane, try soft mirroring. Not as a strategy, but as a way of showing them that you're really there, really listening, and really sharing the moment. That quiet alignment may be the beginning of something meaningful. 5. Be authentically interested, not just polite. It's easy to nod your head, say, "That's nice," or smile politely when someone's talking. We all do it. But true connection doesn't come from polite reactions. It comes from authentic interest. People can sense when you're just going through the motions. They can feel it in your eyes, in your body language, and particularly in your energy. And when someone feels like you're pretending to care, even if you're being outwardly kind, a wall goes up. But when they feel that you genuinely want to hear their story, their thoughts, their perspective, that's when the walls start to come down. Authentic interest is rare, and that's exactly why it's so powerful. In a world where most conversations are rushed, transactional, or filled with distractions, being fully present with someone is like offering them a breath of fresh air.
It's not about having all the right responses. It's not about sounding smart. It's about being engaged, being curious, being fully there, not just in body, but in mind and attention. The difference between polite and interested is subtle, but meaningful. When someone tells you about their weekend, do you say, "Oh, cool," while checking your phone? Or do you lean in and ask, "What did you enjoy most about it?" That small difference changes everything. One is dismissive, the other is inviting. One ends the conversation, the other deepens it. People don't just want to be heard, they want to feel heard. And feeling heard comes from your energy, your eye contact, your follow-up questions, your reactions that show you are actually listening. If someone shares something they're excited about and you respond with bland approval, it flattens the moment. But if your eyes light up with them, if your tone matches their enthusiasm, they feel safe to open up even more. Here's a question worth asking yourself. Are you listening to understand or just waiting for your turn to talk? This one simple reflection can change every interaction you have. If your mind is rehearsing your next story while someone else is speaking, you're not truly with them. You're in your own world. And connection never happens when both people are stuck in their own heads. Being authentically interested also means asking questions not because you feel obligated, but because you're genuinely curious. You want to know what drives them, what challenges them, what makes them laugh, what makes them think. You want to understand not just what they do, but why they do it. That curiosity makes people feel valued. It tells them, you matter. Your experience matters. I want to know more. Even your body language speaks volumes. Facing someone with your full body, keeping eye contact, reacting with facial expressions that match their emotions. All of this signals presence. People notice when you put your phone down. They notice when you lean in. They notice when you let them finish their sentence without interrupting. These are not small things. These are the invisible threads that weave connection. But let's be real. Authentic interest can't be faked. You can't force yourself to care about things you truly don't. And that's okay. You don't have to fake it. Instead, you can practice finding something in the other person that does interest you. Maybe it's their passion. Maybe it's how their eyes light up when they talk about their kids or their job. Maybe it's the way they think differently from you. Train your curiosity to search for those points of connection, and you'll always find something real to hold on to. And when you do, the conversation becomes effortless. You're no longer trying to perform or impress. You're simply being human with another human. And that's when the connection deepens in ways that feel real, meaningful, and memorable. At the heart of every powerful connection is this one truth. People remember how you made them feel. If you make them feel interesting, they'll find you interesting. If you make them feel valuable, they'll see you as valuable. And all of that starts not with words, but with real, authentic interest. 6. Find a common ground quickly. One of the fastest ways to build a meaningful connection with someone is to find something, anything you both share. It could be a passion, a belief, a memory, a habit, or even a random life experience. When two people discover they have something in common, no matter how small, it builds an invisible bridge between them. That moment of realization, oh, you too, creates warmth, familiarity, and trust almost instantly. It makes people feel like they're not alone. It makes them feel like you understand them, even if you've just met. Common ground is the shortcut to connection. It breaks the ice, lowers emotional defenses, and gives the conversation direction. Suddenly, you're not two strangers trying to keep small talk alive. You're co-travelers on the same road. Even if your backgrounds are different, even if your personalities don't match perfectly, one shared thread is enough to weave an entire interaction around. Maybe you hear them mention a city you visited. Maybe they talk about a weekend hike, and you happen to love being in nature too. These moments don't just create connection, they give it momentum. Let's say you're at a work event, and you strike up a conversation with someone you've never met. Within a few minutes, you learn that you both grew up near the coast, and suddenly you're reminiscing about beach summers, salty air, and the sound of waves crashing in the distance. It doesn't matter if those experiences happened in different states or years apart. What matters is the emotional similarity, the feeling you both know. That shared emotional tone becomes the foundation for a stronger bond. When you find common ground early in a conversation, it also makes people more open. It sends a subtle message, we're not so different, and that message dissolves tension, clears away social anxiety, and allows people to be more of themselves around you. It's like stepping onto familiar ground. You feel more relaxed, more natural, more willing to open up. That's when the best conversations happen. But common ground doesn't have to be deep or philosophical. It can be light and playful too. Maybe you both hate pineapple on pizza. Maybe you both love Sunday naps. Maybe you both have a weird obsession with crime documentaries or have binge-watched the same Netflix show last weekend. These small overlaps might seem silly, but they carry power. They spark laughter, they spark memory, and they spark a sense of, you get me. The key is to listen carefully. People drop hints about their world all the time through the words they use, the way they describe things, and the stories they tell. If you're truly paying attention, you'll catch them. And when you do, latch onto them. Not in a forced way, but in a natural flow of conversation. Say things like, "That's crazy, I'm into that too," or "No way, I've been there once," or even just, "I totally know what you mean." These simple responses carry emotional weight because they say, "We relate." Also, don't be afraid to share parts of yourself. Finding common ground isn't just about discovering what they like, it's also about offering up your own life, experiences, and passions so they have something to connect to. When you speak from an authentic place, you give others permission to say, "Me too." Even in difficult conversations or tense environments, common ground can be the one thing that shifts everything. It's hard to argue with someone who shares your love for jazz or has kids the same age as yours. That shared experience can bring empathy into even the toughest discussions. So whether you're meeting someone new at a party, connecting with a client, or chatting with a stranger on a flight, be on the lookout for those little things that tie you together. They don't have to be big, they just have to be real. Because in those real, relatable moments, connection isn't just possible, it's inevitable. 7. Give compliments that feel real. There's a big difference between a compliment that lights someone up and one that feels forced, shallow, or rehearsed. Real compliments have power. They carry sincerity, warmth, and connection. And when you give someone a compliment that feels real, you instantly bridge a gap between you and that person, whether it's someone you just met or someone you've known for years. Let's break this down. A fake compliment sounds like this: "You're the best. You look amazing. Great job." Now, while there's nothing wrong with these, they often lack weight because they're too generic. They don't tell the person what exactly made you feel impressed, inspired, or drawn to them. On the other hand, a real compliment is specific. It notices the little details that others ignore. That's what makes it feel authentic and valuable. For example, instead of saying, "You did great in that meeting," say something like, "The way you handled that difficult question in the meeting, staying calm and redirecting it with grace, was seriously impressive. I could tell you were prepared and confident." See the difference? The second version shows that you actually paid attention, and that kind of attention is rare, which is why it instantly builds connection.
Another key ingredient: don't just compliment appearances or surface-level traits. Compliment someone's effort, character, or even their energy. Say something like, "I admire how you always bring positivity into the room," or "I noticed how patient you were in that tough situation. It says a lot about who you are." These kinds of compliments touch the heart because they show depth. You're not just seeing the person's outer shell, you're recognizing their inner value. Here's something else. The best compliments are not always loud or dramatic. A quiet, thoughtful line can go a long way. You might just say, "Hey, I've been meaning to tell you, I really appreciate how open-minded you are during conversations. It's refreshing." That one line, shared with sincerity, can stay with a person for days. Why? Because genuine recognition is powerful. But let's be honest, Sometimes we hesitate to give compliments. We worry it might come off weird, or we assume the person already knows how great they are. But here's the truth. Most people rarely hear what they're doing right. We live in a world where criticism is common and praise is scarce. So your compliment might be the highlight of someone's day or week. Don't underestimate its impact. Now, timing and tone matter too. If someone just accomplished something meaningful, a compliment right after feels natural. But you can also give unexpected compliments during normal moments. They're often more memorable that way. You're not waiting for a performance or a reason. You're just noticing, appreciating, and sharing. Also, let's address something important. Compliments aren't manipulation tools. They shouldn't be used just to get someone to like you or to win favor. People can feel when they're being flattered versus when they're being seen. Flattery fades, but being genuinely seen and appreciated, that sticks. There's even a ripple effect. When you give someone a real compliment, you make them feel safe, valued, and uplifted. That emotional state makes them more open to you. They're more likely to trust you, engage with you, and want to continue connecting. You've created a spark built on truth, not performance. So next time you meet someone, listen closely. Observe the small things they do. Maybe it's their sense of humor, their leadership, their calm energy, or the way they support others quietly. Whatever it is, say it. Be specific. Be warm. Don't worry about sounding perfect. Just be honest. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be seen. And a well-timed, heartfelt compliment is one of the quickest ways to say, I see you. You matter. That's how connections are born, not from big speeches, but from small moments that feel real. 8. Speak with warmth, not just words. When you talk, do people feel heard or hurried? This question can completely change the way you connect with others. You see, we live in a fast-paced world where everyone is rushing to work, rushing through conversations, and even rushing through emotions. But connection doesn't happen in a rush. It happens in moments where people feel seen, heard, and valued. And that's where warmth comes in. Speaking with warmth doesn't mean being overly emotional or fake sweet. It means being fully present. It's about the tone of your voice, the softness in your eyes, and the way you respond with care. You might say the exact same sentence as someone else, but if your tone lacks warmth, the words will feel empty. Think about how a simple, "How are you?" can sound like a genuine question or just a robotic formality, depending on how it's said. People remember how you make them feel. Warmth in conversation makes people feel safe. It creates space for trust. When someone feels your warmth, they are more likely to open up. They feel less judged, less defensive. That's when real connection begins. If you want someone to feel comfortable around you, then they have to feel like you actually want to be there with them, not just physically, but emotionally too.
Let's be honest. We've all had conversations where the other person was talking at us, not with us. They might have been polite, but it didn't feel personal. On the other hand, a person who speaks slowly, listens deeply, and responds with patience, now that feels different, right? That's the power of warmth. Another part of speaking with warmth is using kind words, but not just to flatter. Use words that build, not break. Even when you have to give feedback or disagree, there's always a warm way to say it. For example, instead of saying, "That's wrong," you could say, "I see what you're saying, but here's another way to look at it." The second option keeps the door open. It says, "We're in this together," rather than, "I'm right and you're not." Also, don't underestimate the power of non-verbal warmth. A gentle nod, a soft smile, or an open posture can say a lot without a single word. When you speak, your whole body speaks with you. That's why some people feel like sunshine when they walk into a room. It's not their words alone, but the warmth they carry in their presence. Another powerful habit is pausing. Yes, simply pausing before you reply. This shows that you're not just reacting, but genuinely thinking about what the other person said. It makes them feel like their words matter. That short pause can carry a whole world of respect. There's also a hidden strength in being soft-spoken, especially when the world is loud. Warmth doesn't need to shout. In fact, the quiet voice that says, "I understand," can often reach deeper into the heart than the loudest advice. People connect with those who feel human, not perfect. And here's a gentle reminder. You don't have to be an extrovert or super charismatic to speak with warmth. It's not about performance, it's about presence. Even a shy person can radiate warmth when their heart is sincere. So the next time you speak with someone, whether it's a friend, a stranger, a colleague, or even someone you disagree with, ask yourself, am I speaking just to respond, or am I speaking to connect? That tiny shift in intention can make your words feel less like noise and more like music to someone's ears. Because in the end, people may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And when your words carry warmth, they don't just connect, they comfort, they invite, they heal. That's how you speak in a way that truly connects with your heart, not just your mouth. 9. Respect boundaries and read social cues. In our eagerness to connect with others, sometimes we forget that connection isn't about pushing. It's about syncing. It's about being tuned in, not turned up. One of the most common mistakes people make when trying to connect instantly is doing too much, too soon. They overshare, overtalk, or overstep, thinking that more means closer. But the truth is, if you really want to connect with someone on a deep level, you must first learn to respect their boundaries and understand their emotional signals.
People are like radio channels. You have to tune into their frequency before the message comes through clearly. If someone seems quiet, maybe they're not shy, maybe they're thinking. If someone is giving short answers, maybe they're not bored, maybe they're just tired or need space. And if someone avoids eye contact or keeps looking at their phone, maybe they're not rude, maybe they're anxious or dealing with something heavier than you can see. These subtle signs are all part of the invisible, emotional language we must learn to read. Now think about this. How many times have we misunderstood someone just because we didn't pause to read the room? How many times have we pushed for more when what was really needed was patience or simply silence? When you try too hard to connect without observing the person's comfort level, you might accidentally make them feel uncomfortable, overwhelmed, or even unsafe. And once that line is crossed, rebuilding trust becomes much harder. True connection isn't rushed. It respects timing, context, and emotion. It asks questions like, is this the right time to open up? Is this person giving me signals to slow down? Am I dominating the space or sharing it? These self-checks can help you become more emotionally intelligent, and emotional intelligence is the foundation of every lasting human bond. It's also important to remember that boundaries aren't barriers, they're bridges. When someone sets a boundary with you, they're not shutting you out. They're inviting you to interact with them in a way that feels safe and sustainable for them. And if you honor that, even silently, they'll trust you more. They'll feel that you get it, that you're not just trying to be liked, you're trying to truly understand. This doesn't mean you have to walk on eggshells or second-guess everything. It just means you show a little more awareness, a little more respect, a little more pause before you speak or act. Connection isn't about saying the perfect thing. It's about noticing the right moment. And sometimes the right moment is the one where you say less, not more. Also, don't confuse curiosity with entitlement. Wanting to know more about someone doesn't mean you have the right to ask anything anytime.
Some topics are off limits. Some stories take time. And some people take longer to open up than others. And that's okay. The key is to match your level of openness with theirs, not to force a deep conversation when they're only comfortable with small talk. Just because you're ready doesn't mean they are. Be the kind of person who leaves others feeling respected, not interrogated. Let people feel in control of what they share, when they share, and how they share. That's what emotional maturity looks like. That's what real connection feels like. Remember, no one forgets the person who made them feel truly safe and seen. But people quickly distance themselves from those who ignore their signals or bulldoze over their comfort. So before you speak, pause. Before you push, reflect. Before you assume, observe. Because sometimes the best way to connect is simply to give space.